Now we're going into the learn section of the night, guys. And so I'm really excited to have a guy, Casey Cavell, here. So I met him. Our first touch point would have been maybe 6 months ago. And he was kind of doing this 6-part series. Once a week, he was hosting a live Zoom call talking about mission driven NFT projects. And some of them were faith-based, some of them weren't, but really the heart behind what he was doing was just trying to help people understand how to build and launch these NFT projects. And so at FaithTech, as we're thinking about new emerging technologies and the impact they're having on the kingdom and how we should think about them theologically, I just kind of found myself poking around and talking to you a bit about it, James. And Casey was one of the guys that we stumbled across and just felt like, man, this guy's got a lot of really solid things to say. He's a believer, and yeah, so I'm just really excited to have him here. He's actually gone and launched Kingdom House Social, which is a incubator for mission-driven NFT projects. He's also got a business background where he leads a consulting firm called, let me just make sure I got it right here. I made a note before, Legacy 412. So that's his consulting firm if you want to look it up after. But I'm just going to call him onto the stage here, and he's going to give us a chat about mission-driven NFT projects.
All right.
Hey, Casey.
Hey there, everybody. Good to see everybody.
The emoji claps are coming up.
Yeah, let's see some emojis for them. And guys, I should mention how we're going to do this thing is Casey's going to talk for about 15, 20 minutes. But if you have any questions as he's talking, we want you to drop those in the chat, and we're actually going to have a couple minutes at the end for some Q&A. I know that this is a space that might be new for a lot of us. This might spark some questions for us. So, yeah, we're going to have some Q&A. So make sure you drop any questions in the chat, and we'll try to get those answered for you. So, Casey, man, we'll leave it to you. Let's get off stage here and leave it to him, James.
All right, I'm going to clap. There's my claps.
Awesome.
See you, Casey.
Good deal. Well, thanks everybody for the opportunity. Really appreciate being here. And looks like we got people from all over the world here. And it's super exciting what FaithTech is doing. And just stay plugged in because I really believe in who they are and what they're doing. So my name is Casey Cavell. Been a serial entrepreneur my entire career and bought, started, sold all kinds of different businesses. And, you know, after achieving some financial success early on, I always said, well, what could I do that's beyond just making money? I mean, making money and making profit is really important. But for me, becoming a believer in my mid-20s, it was, all right, making money is temporary, but our faith journey is forever. So I really wanted to use my profession and be purposeful with it. So I started a bunch of different businesses that were mission-driven, for-profit businesses, figure out a way to employ great people, give great people opportunities, but also give your proceeds back and, you know, serve Jesus with them, and then use my time and invest that time in others and furthering the gospel. So after that, I got involved in the Web3 NFT space about 18 months ago. So who has heard here, maybe just throw in the chat, blockchain technology, NFTs, Web3, just yes, no, have you heard of blockchain, NFTs, Web3, or is it totally just you've never heard this term before? So I see some yeses. Assuming this is a tech group, I'm glad that everybody's heard of blockchain technology because I firmly believe it's going to change the world, just like the internet changed the world back in the 90s. Early on, it was a bunch of people doing a bunch of different things. A bunch of businesses were in the Web 2 space, building businesses and using the internet, but very few made it. And I think we're in that phase right now where blockchain technology and NFTs and Web3, it's new. And, you know, we're probably in the early 90s regarding the internet. It's coming, but we're trying to figure out how should we use this technology to do business, to do community, to benefit humanity. And just like the internet does a lot of really cool, good things, but the internet also does a lot of not so cool things. So as believers, we want to figure out how do we use this technology for good. And I got involved learning about blockchain and Bitcoin and Ethereum a couple of years ago. And I bought my first NFT. And who here has heard or knows what an NFT is? Just throw me in the chat a yes. NFT. All right, I do. Awesome. Thank you, Patrick. So NFT, non-fungible token. I'm not going to get into the details of what an NFT is, but it uses blockchain technology. And basically, it's a digital contract saying that you own something. Now, when I look at an NFT, I first thought an NFT was just a piece of art or a picture or something on the internet that it said I owned it. But the very first NFT I ever bought was from a gentleman by the name of Gary Vaynerchuk. So Gary's been an entrepreneur. A lot of you probably have known of him. And he was the first NFT that I actually bought, because when he listed his first NFT for sale, he said his NFT came with a membership, and that membership gave you access to an in real life event. And I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of cool. He's doing an in real life, event, and it's going to be a get together where people are going to learn about blockchain and NFTs and community. And I'm like, all right, well, how much is this thing? And, it was a couple $1,000s at the time. And I'm like, holy smokes, that's a lot of money to pay for a picture of art. But that picture of art just wasn't the art. It came with access to a community. So talking about the word community, and Web3 really is all about community. It's community-owned content, community-driven purpose. So that is why I think as believers, you really got to understand the power of Web3 and how it's going to change the world. Now, let me ask you this, and this is the best example I have around an NFT community. Maybe some of you all have a membership to a country club. So let me ask you this and throw it in the chat. Why would somebody want to pay $20,000 a year to join a country club? A country club, you get golf or tennis or whatever. Like, if you're a member of a country club, why would you want to be one? Because there's millions of people that are. But why are people paying a bunch of money? Awesome, Isaac. All right. Network. Great. You can meet people. Benefits. Awesome. Thank you, Janet. Uniqueness, social status. Absolutely, Larry. And that's basically what this first community I joined was called VFriends. It was an opportunity to buy a membership that was digitized, that was on the blockchain, and it allowed you access into a digital community. But that digital community then got together, did in real life events, did in real life meetups. And it was really cool because these communities formed in the digital world, but then they started getting together in real life. And as believers, there's this digital world where there's unbelievers, there's believers that truly are disconnected. People are leaving the church now more than they ever have. People have been disconnected over the last few years. And there's this digital world that people are living in, and they're almost like hiding out, looking for people, looking for believers to infiltrate this kind of network. And that's what I've been able to do using this technology. So one of the other groups that I joined was called the Bored Ape Yacht Club. It's been one of the top producing NFT Web3 communities. Just recently got a $4 billion valuation. It raised $500 million in revenue. And truly, it started the exact same way. It was 10,000 pieces of art that were then sold to the market. You could have bought one. I could have bought one. Anybody could have bought one. And it also doubled as your membership, just like a country club membership. Now, the only thing that this country club or this NFT community gave at the very beginning was access to an online community chat room. But that then turned into an online community chat room, turned into free merchandise, turned into an in real life event. And they did their first in real life event last November in New York City. So there was 5,000 or so people that were members at the time, 3,000 people that formed in the digital world because they bought an NFT, which at the time was worth $250 when they bought it. At the time of this first ever event was worth $100,000 because the community was really cool. It was vibing. It was a network. There was opportunity. There was status. And when this community started, anybody and everybody was buying these things. But as it became more popular, celebrities started joining. So Justin Bieber, Shaquille O'Neal, Jimmy Fallon, Paris Hilton, Post Malone. Gosh, I could go on and list Steph Curry, all the different celebrities that were in this community. And it became one of those things where it was all about status. And then it was all about a network where you can meet other like-minded people. And then it was all about benefits. And this community started providing in real life benefits. Well, long story short, the very first event they had was on a yacht. They rented a giant yacht, took it on the New York City harbor. It was a Halloween party because it was on Halloween. And I get to this party and it was your typical party, right? There was drinking and fun and food and games and, a lot of, typical worldly type things, because this community truly was about fame and prestige and fun, which there's nothing wrong with all those things. But as I'm on this yacht with 2,000 people there, People are hanging around doing all kinds of things. It was funny because that morning I prayed. I said, I'm going on this yacht party. Like, Lord, what are you doing here? Why do you have me in this group? And I just said, use me. And a gentleman wanted to tip the bartender, and he didn't have any cash. And he asked if I had any. And I said, absolutely, man, here you go. And he goes, let me Venmo you. So I gave him my phone. He Venmoed me. He saw the Bible app on my phone. And he's like, are you a believer? And I'm like, yeah, I am. And he's like, dude, I've been looking for somebody to meet with here and connect, because this scene wasn't his scene. It was a very worldly experience, but it was wild because I met a believer. And then all of a sudden there was 4 or 5 of us at this event. And we just locked arms and started praying for the Lord to use this community, the Lord to use this technology, the Lord to use us in these networks. And long story short, over the next 4 days, this truly was a 4-day party, we were meeting people, connecting people, non-believers, getting into people's lives and meeting people where truly God had never been working before, because I truly believe he placed us in this community. And I kept saying, wow, how many people here in this community truly know Jesus? And the more and more people I met, it was a community that was far from him, because the people that were in this world were truly going after the things of this world. So I thought it was really interesting that God had me in this community. And I kept thinking about this community, the Bored Ape Yacht Club. And since then, there's been hundreds of other communities that have formed very similar to it, with the whole purpose being status and fame and fortune. Well, we all know as believers, that's very fading. It's never going to fulfill you. So I kept saying, well, what's my role here? What do I do? How do I use NFTs and Web3 to impact people for the kingdom? Bring people into the kingdom that don't know him, help people that do know him be encouraged. Because as you all know, the internet and technology can be a very dark place. But I wanted to bring light into that darkness. So I say that as that blockchain technology, cryptocurrency, NFT communities, although by the looks of it seem very, I don't know, dark, or what opportunity is there for a Christian? There's a whole lot of opportunity, and there's a lost world out there that is forming in the digital world, that we as believers, if we get to know that world and understand it and use this technology to, share the message, a whole lot of good that can happen from it. So that's a little bit of my story. I got dozens of examples here. Let me read. I had a message here that I saw on Twitter today. And I don't know if you've ever heard this term, but keyboard courage, where people will type or chat something that they're not even comfortable talking to somebody about. And I see that in NFTs and Web3. A lot of these communities form in the digital world, but these people aren't Christian, or maybe they are Christian, but they're ultimately disconnected and they want to talk to somebody. And I got dozens of stories I could share with you, how I have met people on the online world, chat rooms, honestly, and taken those online conversations to a Zoom chat, from a Zoom chat to an in real person, and had salvations as a result. And that's where I believe Web3 blockchain technology can be used for good if we stay open-minded about it and see how this can ultimately be used to change people's lives and further the kingdom. So, with that, I threw a lot at you here, and I want to make sure I'm able to, answer any questions that anybody, potentially has here. So, Isaac, I'll kick it back over to you.
Hey. Sorry, you were stranded for a couple seconds there, man. All right, we have any questions, guys? Come on, drop them in if you have any.
As people are thinking right now, Isaac, Casey, I got one for sure. I'd love to just jump in with as people are processing. First of all, thanks, man. I think the one thing that I love about that story is like, there's just so many connections in my heart between, like, when FaithTech started, it started with this phrase, in the midst of devastation, there's opportunity for innovation, and just to like have that like image of you on that yacht and knowing that could be like, the world says that's like the height, that's what it's all about, and you're going like, but I need believers to like pray right now for God to like give you that moment, and that can turn into amazing things. What's the what's the status right now on that group? Like, is there a group forming then, even within like Bored Apes, of people that love Jesus, or did anything happen after the two of you guys met? What's kind of emerged from that now specifically?
Yeah, absolutely. We got our own little private chat group and stuff like that. We just met up in New York City. So I was just there last week. They had the Bored Ape Yacht Club. So that was their first event last November. They just had a 4-day, kind of event in New York City with the same type of stuff. They rented out a giant venue and had all kinds of, music artists and singing and food and dancing and drinking and all that kind of stuff, and was able to meet up with a bunch of people there, further relationships that we had in the digital world. And so that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, certainly, I think one of the things as a side question, I'll give it back to you, Isaac, would just be like, even for us, like how we could pray for you guys, like as this community within a community, if there's things that we can be praying for you guys, because that's, as FaithTech, we're a praying community, and, love to, even hear if there's one or two things that group of you we could be praying for. It'd be awesome. I'd love to capture that.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, man. So just to echo what James said there, thanks again for coming. The initial thought I had too, I won't add too much more to that, but really reminded me of something that we talk about often, James. Like, we have a lot of people in tech in our community that might work at Facebook or Google or something like that, and they're constantly dealing with that tension of like, man, is what I'm doing actually the Lord's work? Like, is this the place God wants me? And oftentimes our response, and I've heard you say this a bunch, James, it's like, man, maybe not, God's not calling you away from the Bored Ape Yacht Club type deal. Maybe God's not calling you away from Facebook. There's an opportunity to be the hands and feet of Christ in those environments. And as believers, it's important for us to be there and having an influence there. So that's something it reminded me of. We do have a few questions here. So we'll start with Patrick's. And if it gets too complicated for you, Casey, like of an answer, then like this is a pretty big question here. We can take it offline too a little bit. So how could blockchain assist in transfer funds, especially in countries that have a hard time to transfer funds? This is a problem that my organization and others are trying to solve and are wondering if blockchain is a potential solution.
Yeah, from what I can see, absolutely. Bitcoin, Ethereum, they're all digital currencies, and they can be transferred in a matter of seconds with fees that are minimal compared to any other transition or transaction across countries. So that's where cryptocurrency will be around, because it makes life easier. And I do believe the governments are going to get behind it. There's going to be regulation and all of that kind of stuff. But absolutely, it makes sense. I mean, banks are going to be changed forever based on blockchain technology. And cryptocurrency will be a payment method, and already is a payment method for businesses and people and ministries. And one of the groups I was in threw tons of money over to Ukraine during this crisis. And if we had to go over to the Western Union or wherever to get capital over there for them to help, it would have taken days. It would have been eaten up in fees, and blockchain and cryptocurrencies are something that will be able to help a lot of that. That's
awesome, man. Great answer. Lee's got a question here. How do they value the membership of a group from $250 to $100,000?
Yeah, sure. Well, it's just like anything. The more value a membership gives, the more it's worth. And there's only 10,000 memberships in this community, or there's actually 30,000 now. There's 10,000 tier 1 memberships and 20,000 tier 2 memberships. And that's all they're ever going to do. And each tier memberships get different rewards and benefits and connections and all of those kind of things. And, this community has given a lot back to its members. And I won't go into all of the different, things this community has done, but it's been pretty cool. And, for me, just like a country club, what are the benefits? What are the connections? What's the experience, and how much fun is it? And they've provided that times 10. I mean, really amazing parties, get-togethers, networking opportunities, to be in a room with, Snoop Dogg and Eminem and Shaquille O'Neal, it's like, I was in the room with these guys last week. So it's crazy to be in a room with these types of people. And if you think about it, these are the people that are shaping the way that our next generation is thinking. And it's super scary to actually think about that, especially when I know how some of these influencers, what they promote. So I think that's where, Christians need to hang out in these types of places because there's not enough of them. I was in one in Minnesota, met one of the head ladies of the Academy Awards. She's on the board, and she's got influence over anybody and everybody. Had a super amazing conversation with her and sent her a little book afterwards called How Good is Good Enough by Andy Stanley. And it's small enough where you would actually read it. And that's what I give the non-believers. And whenever I meet an NFT person, I get to know them. I develop a relationship. I pique their interest. I send them that little book, and then I follow up. And I do that dozens of times. And I think as a believer on this call, what is your strategy? What is your missional strategy? What are you doing? Because although we're not all Billy Graham evangelists and sitting here and going to lay hands on people and pray for people and lead them to Jesus, you do need to have some kind of strategy of what is your discipleship plan? What are you doing to allow somebody that's not a believer to get them introduced to Jesus? And that tool, How Good is Good Enough by Andy Stanley, is a really amazing book. I'll look it up and throw it in the chat here and give it a read. Whether you have a family member or a friend that's just kind of on the fence about Christianity, it's a really great book, and that's what I like to give out as a tool.
All right, sweet, bro. Son's asking here just for a little bit more info about Kingdom House and where that's at right now.
Sure. Yeah. So Kingdom House is an incubator. So if somebody is a mission-driven entrepreneur, they either have a following or a community, or they're already building an NFT business or project, we basically help them get the tools and resources and people they need to be successful. So I won't give you our whole kind of business mission and all that kind of stuff, but I'll just throw you the link in the chat if you want to learn more about that. But if you're a mission-driven entrepreneur and you're looking to use blockchain, Web3, and NFTs, right, we want to help you. So that's kind of it. And just for any business, our one company, our consulting company, we focus on helping entrepreneurs with a vision make that vision happen. And I find so many entrepreneurs have great ideas, but they lack execution. And we help put the people and team around them to make it happen. And that is, I think, a huge problem in any business, especially Web3, because there's so many ideas and opportunities, but there's only a few really good ones. And you've got to surround yourself with people that can execute.
That's good, man. I'll just list off a couple more here and then we'll wrap up, and then I'll give people a chance. Maybe I'll follow up with some other questions later, but this is a good one here because I'm sure a lot of people are having questions like this. So Larry said, where was it? How is an NFT community different than some other community that forms in a chat room or through gaming together or some other non-in-person means?
Yeah, so it basically allows you just to give people digital access to it. So it's probably not, they're probably very similar, but also it gives the member of an NFT blockchain community a reason to make the community really awesome. Because if there's only 10,000 memberships, right, and the community's really awesome, right, and people never want to leave, but people want to get in, it makes the price go up. And who wouldn't want the value of their membership to go up? Imagine being a member at the YMCA. You guys might have been a member at the YMCA. Well, if there's only 10,000 members at the YMCA, right, you want that YMCA to be the best, coolest, most amazing experience, because if you own 3 memberships and you want to get your friends in, you're happy to sell them a membership, but the better the experience, the cooler it is, the higher the price goes up, and everybody can get a return on their investment too. So it gives people ownership over the community. It gives people a reason to be vested in the community's success. So it's almost like, as a business owner, a reason for your members to want it to be successful. When I'm a member at the YMCA now, I don't necessarily care, right? I want it to be a great place, but I don't personally benefit if it's better or it's not. Web3 gives the ownership to the community to give the community an opportunity to grow it. And that's why it's going to change everything. Imagine Batman franchise, right? Imagine if people here owned a piece of that. They would want to talk about Batman more. They would want to promote it more. They would want to do that. So the next Disney is going to be a community-owned project, not just owned by big, giant corporations. And that is what I think is going to be really cool about what's coming.
Awesome, man. I'll maybe just ask one other thing here, and then we'll wrap up. But I was just wondering if you had a solid example of maybe a project that's come through Kingdom House or something like that, where it's just like really obvious, like how this has potential for missional impact in this space. Like, is there any story like that that you can share from Kingdom House?
Sure. There's a couple that I can share, but what I do want to touch on, because I think it's important, we at Kingdom House wanted to create a Christian community that was formed using blockchain and NFTs. The challenge is that nobody's here yet. So we want to create a product, but nobody's here to buy the product, because that's how early we are, because people truly don't know this exists and they don't know the benefits of it yet. So although I could share a couple small wins, the big win isn't 5 years, 10 years from now, right? And that's where we still need to get educated about it. We still need to learn about it. We still need to get involved. And that's where I'll throw my LinkedIn in here. If you guys want to, if anybody wants to add me on LinkedIn, please do so. Happy to give resources and tools, whether you, no matter what you need. But it's just so early, Isaac, that the big wins aren't there. And right now, the communities that are here, it's the believers are few and far between, but we're trying to, get together and figure out what are we ultimately, supposed to do here. Yeah,
that's cool, man. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, guys, maybe just give Casey some emoticons. Thank him for coming out again tonight. I'm sure you appreciated the emoticons while you were speaking. And people are listening.
I need like a clapping sound effect where it like echoes across and you can hear all the other claps going on.
Yeah.
Thanks, Casey, man.
All right, Casey. Catch you later, man. I'm going to hide you from the stage now.
You bet. See you guys.
Yeah, thanks.
And then there was 2.